in 1946 Swiss families who wanted to express their gratitude for having spared by the war.
Okay.
Decided to offer to Initiative of Change, which was then known as Moral Rearmament, a place where European people could meet, especially French and German. And they found this place, and they spent many months just to put it into shape, because it was used by the refugees during the war by the Swiss government. And it was part of an attempt by Dr. Frank Buchmann, an American, who launched this idea to make the people of Europe meet again and support the big ideas which were running around the places with the people, with change in the people on the ground. So it was a place, it's one of the places where these people started to meet, started to talk, on the basis of the values of Initiative of Change, which is honesty, purity, unselfishness, and love, in as absolute as possible. Each one is called to review his conscience, and then take a decision what could be different in my life. So for the French and the German, it was difficult.
Why?
Because they had been fighting each other, and the war was only ended up in 45, and here they found themselves in 46.
So they were still.
And CAUX, there is a special spirit, as everybody tries to be different. Because somebody said that peace, it's people becoming different. So slowly, these French and German, in the framework of World Conference, because they were Dutch, they were Americans, they were Asians, begin to start to meet together. And my mother-in-law, who was a resistance fighter during the war, and had been a member of the Constituante in France in 1946, she was invited by a friend of mine. So she came to CAUX and to discover what was behind this idea, who is financing it. And she arrived, and she began to speak with people. She found the place very open, and suddenly arrived 100 Germans. She said to her host, "I'm not going to stay," because she was burning of hate against the German. And her host in CAUX, Dr. Buchmann, said, "How can we rebuild Europe without Germany?" And I think this has been the leading thought, as far as I can see, of many people at all levels, from 1940 onwards, that you must find a plan to rebuild Europe with Germany and not put Germany down. So my mother-in-law stayed. Many statesmen in Europe and many other people felt the need to rebuild Europe with Germany and not to humiliate Germany again as we did in 1919. And because 1919 we humiliated the Germans and they were kept low, and then Hitler took over power. So she was a woman of heart, and it struck her, and she went back to her room. And she stayed there for 2 or 3 days without eating, to reflect on this question: what will happen if I met the Germans? So a year later, or a year and a half later, she was invited to go to Germany with a group of international group, and to go and meet people in Germany. And the message she gave in CAUX, which was, "I asked the Germans for my forgiveness." She never pointed her finger to the Germans. And this is a secret of CAUX. Change starts when you begin to point your finger at yourself, where you must make the first step. And there were some young Germans, when she spoke in CAUX, who said, if she speaks of what the Germans have done to France, we have some story of what the French did to Germany. And her speech was so different that this young German wanted to meet her. And her speech was always the same. I ask forgiveness for my hatred. And the Germans were so surprised.
Forgiveness for my hatred.
Yeah, for my hatred. And the Germans were so surprised that the French woman would not point a finger, you have done that, but she said,
No, I have a problem. I have hate. And,
and when she came to Berlin with Berlin, we went to Berlin with this, she saw the ladies picking up the stones in Berlin, picking of the ruins, in order to earn some money to feed up the kids, which they had from the Russian troops coming. And my mother-in-law said, I was really ashamed, because as a woman and as a mother, I had wished the drama I saw in front of my eyes. I had wished this misery and these destructions, and I was ashamed of myself. And my mother-in-law said very simply, I ask you for my forgiveness for my hatred.
Of my hatred, yeah.
And then she committed herself to fight for this healing of hatred for the rest of her life. She has done it in different. She went to India. She went to many places, and her real conviction was that hatred will destroy the world.
Oneself and then the world, yeah.
Hatred will destroy the world between people.
Yeah. So what is the problem today? Like, this is what happened after the Second World War. What is happening today? What is this association trying to do?
Yeah, this place we moved on with many people. Every year, hundreds of people are coming. When I arrived in CAUX in September '51, invited by someone, there were 1,400 people in the place.
Okay, when was that?
51.
Oh, 1951. Okay.
Then our work started also to expand. We were involved in the independence of the African nations. We also welcomed the first Japanese official delegation to leave Japan, who decided to take a trip in the world to ask forgiveness for what they have done. And they came through Europe, and they came to this place. And so our work is a worldwide work. They have been working in 40 different countries, or even more. So sometimes delegations came to CAUX, sometimes individuals, but always at the heart of the problems of the day. We had, when there was a problem in Cyprus, we had many people from Cyprus who came to CAUX. And this Cypriots started a program to try to reconcile Greek Cypriots.
Okay.
And
former enemies.
Former enemy. I'm afraid it didn't work as well as they were hoping so. And for instance, the Tunisian, for Tunisia, when there was a problem of independence in the 60s and so on, some friends of mine met in Paris a Tunisian who was one of the leaders of the resistance, and they invited him to come to CAUX. So they drove him from Paris to CAUX. And this fellow arrived at CAUX, and he received a letter from his mother saying, I pray for your stay, and I pray that God curse the French from the earth. He said, you can continue to pray for me, but you can also pray for some French, because I met French people who are very different from what I knew. And he was freed from his bitterness against the French. And when he went back to Paris, he and a Frenchman who also had been to CAUX worked together that during the negotiations, when there were difficult points, they would retire, discuss together, find a solution and propose it.
To get rid of the
So
hate.
Tunisian, just to propose it because it was difficult. So the Tunisia found its independence without a bloody war like in Algeria. Because there were this teamwork between French and German in the negotiations. And when there was tensions, when the French was saying, they would get out and then they would discuss and they would come back to the conference. And this is what we feel is. And so we have been working in different fields.
Do you think that maybe the Iraqis and Libyans and Syrians and Ukrainians should be invited to take these courses, so they're
We
the
are
war
we,
will
we
stop.
have Ukrainians coming to this conference,
Okay.
and three of them are here,
Oh, all right,
and the
wonderful.
fourth one, the Roman Hindu.
Yes,
When
yes.
the wall fell down,
Uh-huh.
we were asked in CAUX to create. We were asked to create courses to help young people from the Central Europe or Eastern Europe to become responsible. And
Very
we
nice, yeah.
had at that time every summer a week of training for responsibility and leadership in CAUX.
Mhm.
And these people transferred what they had learned in CAUX in their own countries.
Mhm.
So they're still working very hard, but of course it takes time.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Now,
And you can't impose people to come. We invite people to come. If they don't want to come,
Yeah.
we're not going to take an army to bring them.
or to get rid of the hatred, because it's
Yeah, yeah.
something that has to be worked from within.
Absolutely.
Each individual, you have to be ready for it. You cannot legislate somebody. I legislate that you shall not feel any more hate. But if that's what you feel, that's what you feel. But this group is trying to change that feeling of hate and
Yeah.
converting it into humanity, love thy fellow human being, which most religions are basically saying the
So,
same thing.
I think actually Initiative of Change is nothing new.
Yeah.
It's a new dynamic
Uh-huh.
to old truth,
Yeah.
and trying to put everybody at work to do their part in changing the world.
Mm-hmm. Much, thank you for your intervention here, and
Well, I
let's
hope
see
anyway.
if somebody has an ear to listen.
Yeah.
So thank
yeah.
you.
Oh, you're
Thank you.
welcome. I'm glad to meet you myself.